Good evening, traders. Welcome to the CloudChartist weekly Ichimoku wrap-up for the week ending January 6, 2017. Sunday night, the 8th. I'm a little bit late making this video, so I missed the open. It's after 6, so you're going to note that there are new candles being formed, but the candles that I'm talking about are the last week's candles. So pay no mind to the new candle. And just look at the prior candles. It's kind of handy because oftentimes if you watch my videos regularly, I'll talk about levels, like I'll say, or wherever the Tenkan Sen is when the new candle opens up. So I can actually use the level that that's at now because the new candle is already open. In this case, the new Tenkan Sen level for the ES is 2214.63. That is a solid support level if we do get a pullback to that extent, which I do not think that we will. So in Ichimoku terms, the ES is fully bullish. This is a nice bull flag type pattern, and put in an new all-time high last week of 2277. So if we do get, we're not overbought on RSI, so everything looks good for higher prices. Let's look at some other U.S. indexes. Let's look at the Russell. Russell also looks like a nice bull flag. We did put in a significant topping tail last week, and we did fail to make a new all-time high, but the bull flag still looks good. And the Tenkan Sen has popped up to 1338.20. If we do get a pullback, look for that area to hold as support. Let's look at overall very bullish. Let's look at the NASDAQ. NASDAQ put in a very bullish candle last week, more bullish than the Russell for sure. Did make a new all-time high of 5,017.50. We still have a Tenkan Sen pointing up, so it will offer rising support next week. If we do get a pullback, we can look for the Tenkan Sen to hold as support at 48.45. I think I might have mentioned last week that the Kijun Sen is real close to the Tenkan Sen here, and there is the potential for a bear cross, but with the Tenkan Sen kicking up at this strong angle after last week's bullish move, and the Kijun Sen sort of tapering, like leveling off a little bit, it does not look like that is going to happen. So in fact, right here, we had a similar situation where it looked like we were going to get a bear cross, and indeed we did not. The Tenkan Sen just kept moving up higher, and the Kijun Sen sort of flattened out a bit. So we'll see what happens. RSI is neutral here, nothing to write home about. Let's look at the Dow. Everybody's talking about the Dow. The Dow did not break 20,000 last week, and neither did the Dow futures, but it does look set up to go higher. Nice bull flag here. If we do get a retracement, we do have solid support at the Tenkan Sen at 19,345. Of course, that's quite a bit lower from here. We are overbought here on the RSI for the Dow, so it would not be bad to get a pullback or some more flagging action before a solid move higher. That would be healthy, but we'll see how it goes. All right, let's look at some metals. Let's look at gold. Last week I pointed out that the Chikou, which is this red line here representing price action time shifted 26 periods into the past, so 26 weeks in this case. Chikou is finding resistance at the top of the cloud here, which I marked with this yellow arrow, and also this line at 1176.60. We did trade over that, but we failed to close over that, so that resistance that I was talking about did hold on a weekly closing basis, and look what happened to the Tenkan Sen. The Tenkan Sen came down and is offering resistance pretty much at just a couple dollars higher than that, at 1178.70. So that is going to be a significant resistance point for gold. If you're long gold, you should be real careful here because this could be a Tenkan Smackdown setup. A Tenkan Smackdown setup, for those of you who might be new to my videos or don't know, is if we have an existing downtrend, then we get an oversold bounce, which is what happened here. We got tagged down the oversold level here on the RSI. We got a nice little bounce here. And then the tank hits the Tenkan-sen and gets the smackdown. In other words, it finds resistance at the Tenkan-sen and goes for another move lower. This sort of happened here, except we weren't oversold, but you see that we had a strong move down, a bounce. We actually put in a close over the Tenkan-sen here. So if I had been short or interested in shorting, I would have gotten out of my short trade with this close, but then we sold off significantly on this this next candle. So we'll see what happens, but that 1178.70 level is very key on a weekly closing basis for whether or not price is going to continue lower. Let's look at silver, but bearish in all ways Ichimoku for gold on the weekly time frame. Looking at silver, we see a similar situation, although the Chikou is not resisting, it's out of the cloud. So the Chikou would be fine with the Chikou for price to go all the way up to the Kijun-sen here, which is at 1753. But the Tenkan-sen, not so much. The Tenkan-sen offering resistance here at 1658. And we're at 1653 right now, so it'll be interesting to see if we do try to test above the Tenkan-sen, what happens. We have not put in a close above the Tenkan-sen in quite some time, all the way back here in September. We put in our last close above the Tenkan-sen, otherwise it's been below the Tenkan-sen ever since. So if you got short up here at 1968, you know, anywhere at 20 for that matter, if you got short up here at 20, there was never any really good reason for you to get out of your trade. It was looking for a while here that we might be holding the cloud, but once we closed inside the cloud and then lost the cloud on the next week, you know, hope was lost for silver to hold support, and now it is back under the cloud in bearish territory. There is a flat cloud bottom on this cloud, and the cloud is rising. Oftentimes, or you know, pretty much all the time, if there's a flat area in Ichimoku charts, it suggests equilibrium, and therefore we could get a move towards the flat bottom of this cloud, but we're going to need to get over the Tenkan-sen first in order for that to happen. Let's look at the bonds, the Treasury complex. We'll look at ZB to start the 30-year. Looking pretty similar to the metals in that it's looking like the Tenkan smackdown again. This is really cool to see. Well, not cool if you're long bonds, but cool to see Tenkan smackdowns on weekly time frames. We did see, this is classic too. Great examples for those of you who are learning Ichimoku. So, you know, we had an existing downtrend, really strong downtrend. We did get oversold and caught an oversold bounce, got back out of oversold, and now we are running into the Tenkan-sen. So it will be interesting to see whether or not we can get above the Tenkan-sen or whether we stay below the Tenkan-sen on a closing basis. That level is 151.10. We are above that right now, but it's really the close that matters, right? Let's look at the 10-year. We do also have this, you know, the shape of the cloud suggests the possibility for a mean reversion trade back to follow the shape of the cloud, but it has to get over the Tenkan-sen for that to happen. Let's look at ZN, 10-year. Similar situation, oversold bounce, got the bounce, came up, and now we are underneath the Tenkan-sen. The Tenkan-sen's at 124.265. If we do get a move towards that, I might be interested in shorting that for a swing trade. Offers good risk reward to the downside. Let's look at the dollar. Dollar's still bull flagging away here, and put in a long-legged spinning top type doji after making a new high last week. And it was an outside candle of the prior candle, but we are in a downtrend presently, so the outside candle did not change that. The candle body, if you just want to look at that, put in a lower close and a lower open. Or sorry, a lower open and a lower close. So if we come down and test the Tenkan-sen, we could find support at 101.45 or 101.46, 101.458 on the dollar. Let's look at dollar yen. The DX contract is a basket of different stuff. So it's really more accurate to compare the dollar to various currencies. But so when we're looking at the dollar yen, because dollar yen really has a nice representation of risk and tends to be an inverse correlated indicator for commodities in general, especially metals. So dollar yen is bull flagging here. So also put in a long leg spinning top type doji. A lot of indecision in the market of dollar yen last week. It is still bullish in all ways. Ichimoku, a bit extended above the cloud, but not overbought anymore. Just slightly off overbought. So if we do go lower, then we could find support at the Tenkan-sen at 112.69, but that would be quite a bit lower. So we will just watch and see what happens, but it's bullish in Ichimoku terms for now. Let's see. Oh, I forgot to do CL. Oh my God. Looking at crude, we've been having pretty tight ranges, still bull flagging type action. So we did last week trade inside this gap zone that I've been talking about for quite a long time. I expected that we would find resistance here, and we did indeed find resistance here, and I expect that it's still entirely possible that we find resistance there again this week. So keep an eye on the bottom of that gap zone, which is delineated by 54.90 on the bottom and then 56.50 at the top. So if we do get a solid move above 54.90, I'm looking for that 56.50 to act as resistance also. If we look at the indicator, the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen lines, we see the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen have both gone flat. When that happens, there is a suggestion that mean reversion will happen, and that price might trade down towards the flat Tenkan-sen and Kijun-sen. I am also looking at this neckline here that I've drawn to hold. Seems to be holding so far. So if we do get a move lower, I'm going to look for the potential test and hold of this neckline, which is at approximately 52. Let's call it 52.30, shall we? Looks like about that level. Let's see, this low was 52.11. So around the early 52s, I'm going to look for support at this neckline. And, we could actually, I've also been talking about this inverse head and shoulders pattern for quite a long time. We could even trade all the way down to the Tenkan-sen and fill this gap that we have down here without invalidating that the inverse head and shoulders setup. But since we've been trading above the neckline for a while, that would make me a little bit nervous about the chance of the pattern actually working out. But it's not uncommon for crude to put in kind of funky inverse head and shoulders types patterns with oftentimes inverse head and shoulders inside inverse head and shoulders or multiple shoulders. So, all right, what else have I forgotten? I feel like looking at the Nikkei. Nikkei is still bull flagging, put in a bullish candle last week. So bullish in all ways, Ichimoku, but we are kind of extended above the cloud. We're not overbought anymore, but we're pretty close to overbought. And we do have a flat cloud below, and then a stepping down to a lower flat cloud in the future. So things look more like we need more sideways action for the Nikkei rather than moving quickly upwards. I want to look at Tesla. And so I drew these fibs based on weekly candle close and low and high in this time period. We put in a really bullish candle last week. I was expecting that we would potentially find resistance when the Chikou came into the bottom of the cloud here. Let me zoom in so you can see what I'm talking about. This red line here, the Chikou representing price action time shifted 26 weeks into the past. So the Chikou is going to come into the cloud right around 232.77, and that's not that far off from this 78% fib here. So 78.6 fib here at 232.37. So essentially, I'm looking for 232 before we maybe get some sideways action, depending on the broader markets also. But we had a strong move above the cloud last week. We do have a pretty sideways looking cloud in the future, so that's why I'm not expecting a really fast move to the upside. But if we do get over that 232 level and the Chikou gets a chance to break over the top of the cloud, which is at 234, if we get over 234, I think that we could make a pretty fast move to fill in this area above here near these prior swing highs. Just saying. And I want to look at IBM also. They have been moving IBM around a lot. I noticed downtown Josh Brown pumping it on CNBC the other day. I myself have been pretty bullish on the stock for a while now. I just like it as a longer term hold. I think I was looking at the monthly previously, yeah. So I was looking at the monthly and I was noticing that it was finding resistance at the monthly cloud. Came down, tested the Tenkan-sen, got a bull cross, managed to stay above the Tenkan-sen. We do have this lovely arch here for, so even if it continues to find resistance at the cloud, at the monthly cloud here, it can fill in this arch area. And this area in April is a really beautiful place to break through to the upside. And that's around 177.50, so keep an eye on that level. But let's go back to the weekly. The weekly just looks really nice, trending upwards. We do have a flat Tenkan-sen and a flat Kijun-sen, which suggests potential more sideways action. We do have a nice thick rising cloud to support higher prices. So the Chikou is free to move higher. I still like IBM as an investment. We also have, you may note, a gap to fill around here. That gap is at 182 thereabouts, so we could get a move all the way up to 182 to fill this gap from the fall of 2015. I think that was an earnings related gap down. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Don't want to make this video too long. I'm already, oops, sorry about that. You get to see some dresses. I was clicked on some Twitter thing. So if you're interested in learning more about Ichimoku, you are welcome to check out my website, CloudChartist.com, or contact me on Twitter or via email, cloudchartist@gmail.com. Otherwise, have a great trading week, and feel free to ask questions in the comment section on YouTube here if you'd like. If you want to be notified when I do release new videos, do subscribe to my channel. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.